Chapter 19. Fewer and fewer horses every morning. Think, knowing why this is so, yips and yaps with deeply doggish abandon. The doctors in heaven can't stand to hear. Lovesick for touch, their research all but stops. It becomes easier for Carl to dream them out of heaven. And the hospital is busy again, full of heartbroken doctors who believe think is the good heart of touch, terribly trapped in heaven. It quite simply isn't fair, says a certain prominent doctor to his wife. Carl, free of them, and with fewer horses in his blood, begins to be able to feel, think again, moving. Crippled, sleepless, and unusually playful under his admirer's whole-bodied gaze, think is again there. The last horses gallop into this blood without any sense of the morning that does not wait for them. Chapter 20. Touch can kill many doctors at a time. How easy it is! Out of heaven they come right up to him, almost as bored by death as he is. Touch likes being mistaken for think. Daytime, the doctors huddle together in the empty hospital, discussing heaven's hidden yip-yap until evening. The longer they don't hear it, the clearer it is in their minds, and the more it claims the idea of having a conversation. Evening, venturing out beyond that talk, that massive abstract seduction, they are returned to heaven.
It's 10 o'clock.
By a businesslike touch. Chapter 21. One day the doctors wake up and they are only lawyers. They submit Think's barking as evidence of the treachery of touch. They suggest there is a conspiracy to dishearten everyone everywhere. They suggest that Carl is behind the whole thing, though they do not call him Carl. They want to establish his character's unreliability and go from there. They have proof of a pattern of decay in his skin, bone. They have proof of his long unemployment. They have eyewitnesses to his raging morning hard-ons. They have tape recordings made at his open wounds, revealing a muffled and obviously restrained yip-yap. For heaven's sake, cry the lawyers, there's unmistakably the happiness of a certain good dog trapped in his blood. They ask Carl to take the stand, to deny stealing the happiness of touch from them. Carl is so much in love with the single animal within him that he can't follow the logic of their accusations. Delicious in front, delicious behind, he declares, flustered beyond description. Chapter 22. Carl mishears the lawyer's questions all day and mumbles about his new and tender love for an invisible dog, a dog none of them could possibly understand, a dog within. As the lawyers leave the courthouse, supremely confident of a conviction, touch bites and kills them as though they were doctors. Chapter 23. Ooh, it's so exciting. What's going to happen? Chapter 23. The lawyers still in heaven are less smitten with the mean dog by the hospital, whose goodness, they suggest, is being withheld by Carl. They look at the vicious, bored dog without hope of marriage. They look at him strictly as evidence, at least for now, until the case is won. They call themselves the good lawyers. They say amongst themselves that the lawyers around the hospital, the lawyers who still approach Touch with bright eyes, weeping to wed him, are perhaps not lawyers at all. Carl moons, pines, and mumbles over Think all night in preparation of his defense. Think brings down the last horse in a bright heap of extinction or forgiveness. Yip, yap. Chapter 24. The good lawyers win their case. During sentencing, Carl nods on the stand. Life imprisonment, no chance of parole. It is also ruled that, in the meantime, the good lawyers are to be allowed into Carl's heart and are to share in custody of, quote, the happiness of Touch, end quote. They deftly make an incision in the soft of his right forearm. Carl, intimidated by the ruling, does not resist, and even helps to force them in. The lesser lawyers are left alone to their increasingly outdated houses near the hospital. Therein, Touch lies, bored or asleep, by a heat duct. When, one at a time now, he bothers to kill them, they're buried in the dirt, no longer allowed, since the ruling, into heaven. These lesser lawyers are relieved to be at last outside of the bitter, insistent melody of Carl's dream. They take Touch on long walks around the old hospital grounds. Touch recalls old days, the horses he chased, his easy, blind mom crying out in pain and delight, and dear Think, small and strong, biting the then doctors. Quote, family is everything, end quote, thinks Touch, alone in a deserted hospital. Chapter 25. The good lawyers see that the mangled Think is not a happy Touch at all. They feel a little slighted. Out of spite, they pretend to feel at home. They lounge, clogging Carl's veins. They gather in his heart like years of fat. There are so many good lawyers that Think can no longer run. He takes care not to get petted, fondled, and held. These lawyers are lonely and miss Touch, who would at least bite them. Think refuses them his bite, disgusted by their looks. He chews Carl's veins away so he can get by. Carl becomes dizzy from loss of blood. Without anyone anywhere knowing, Carl passes out in the bed in the middle of heaven. Then he is dead.